Well, you'll remember that at breakfast time, we had a fun time talking with each other, but now's the time, Serge, that we're gonna get quiet and we're gonna listen, okay? All right. Brianna, are you ready? Brianna's turn to light the Christ candle. You may need a little more wick, Brianna. There you go. That's it.
We need another.
Good job. Good job. Now, Brianna, remind us, why do we light the Christ candle each and every week?
Especially because God is
It's a reminder, right, that God is always with us, whether we're at breakfast club, whether we're at school, whether we're at the playground or at home or at a friend's house. God's always with us. Now, would you bow your head? Brianna's going to say a little prayer for us this morning.
Amen. Very good.
Remember what we said amen meant? Do you remember that?
And so be it.
Good.
So
Okay.
Brianna can sit down with you there.
Oh, God, we
adore
you.
Lay our lives before you.
How we love
You,
Jesus,
we adore you.
Lay our lives before you. How we love you. Spirit, we adore you. Lay our lives before you. How we love you. Great job, great job. We went over before how we say the Lord's Prayer and the different parts of the Lord's Prayer and why it's important to pray, because when we're praying, what are we just doing? We're talking to
God.
that's right, we're just talking to God and Jesus. And we talk when things are wrong, we say a prayer, but we also say a prayer when things are right, or when things are bad, or when things are good. Just we need to talk. We need to talk to him, don't we? And we talked about how Daniel, remember there was a law that said Daniel couldn't pray to anyone else. Daniel said, I pray 3 times a day. Get on my knees and I pray, and because he did, what happened to him? What was he done?
So he prayed, and then the people who were jealous of him said they caught him, so they brought him to the king.
That's right. The king said what?
The king, when they say they saw Daniel and
He said he had to be thrown. They tricked the king into signing something that said no one can pray to you but for 30 days. And so he had to throw him in the lion's den. Did the king want to do that? No. And when he threw him in the lion's den, he said, may your God be with you. And Daniel, who remember was really scared, prayed and prayed and prayed, and God sent an angel, and the angel took the lion's mouth and shut him. And in the morning, the king ran down to see and said, oh, I hope your God saved you. And he was so surprised because who did he see there? He saw Daniel with all the lions just sitting there. And from then on, King Darius, from then on, believed. Kind of showed us the importance of prayer and what people were willing to do. And we aren't being threatened by throwing in the lion's den, but we can pray all the time. So we know that prayer is really important. Well, there are other things that are important too. And God kind of tells us the 10 best ways to live. But the person who kind of helped him do that was somebody named Moses. So we're going to learn for the next couple of weeks about somebody named Moses. Okay? And then we're going to learn about the 10 best ways to live. And then we're going to learn God's most important commandment about loving our neighbor. And we're going to make something that we take home for the golden rule that'll remind us. Some of you were here about 3 or 4 years ago when we did that. Do you remember the gold kind of plaque we made? We had the golden rule on it. Well, we're going to do that again. So everyone's going to have the golden rule. Let's today first talk about Moses. Remember Joseph? We did Joseph last year, and Joseph was great, and Joseph saved Egypt because the Pharaoh had a dream about 7 fat cows and 7 skinny cows, and Joseph interpreted that and said, that means for 7 years you're going to have great, 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 great crops, and for 7 years you're going to have horrible crops. So you need to save all those great crops. You know, and Joseph did that, and Egypt didn't have famine or anything, and the Pharaoh brought Joseph's family, and that Pharaoh loved Joseph and all those people, but you know what? That Pharaoh died. And years later, another Pharaoh who forgot all about Joseph and what he had done, and Joseph's family came, and he was worried that too many, they called them Israelites at the time, too many Israelites were there in Egypt, and he said to the people who were helping him, he said, what if we get in a battle, there are more of them than there are of us? I'm going to make a rule. First, I'm going to work these people extremely hard, and he made all the Israelites slaves. They had to build bricks. They had to build cities. They worked so hard. And then he said, and the second thing that's going to happen is, now this one's really bad, the second thing that's going to happen is that all little boys who are born have to be thrown into the Nile River and drowned. They're Israelites. And he brought 2 people who helped. People had midwives, helped them have babies. And he said, when you go and help those women who are Israelites, if they have a baby boy, throw them in the river. Well, these slaves knew that you shouldn't do that. And they said, how are we going to get around? Because the Pharaoh's telling us how to do this. How are we going to get around and not get in trouble? And so they just didn't do it. And so when they were brought in front of the Pharaoh, they said, well, these Israelite women have babies so fast, we don't get there in time. So we don't know if they're baby boys or girls, but he still sent people out to little boys and threw them in the river. But there was one lady, and she had her little boy, said, no, they're not going to do that. I'm going to hide him. So she hid him for a while. And then she said, oh, they're going to come and they're going to take him. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wrap him up, and I'm going to put him in a basket. And I'm going to make sure that basket is like waterproof. And I'm going to put him amongst the reeds. Reeds are little things in a river that kind of go up. They kind of look like little stems that go up, kind of like in the river. I'm going to put him amongst the reeds in the river. You, Miriam, and Miriam was kind of like somebody your age, okay? You, Miriam, or your older sister, you go down and watch and see what happens to the baby that we put in the river. So put the baby, because God told her to do that. She put the baby in the river. Miriam kind of hid behind things and watched. And all of a sudden, the Pharaoh's daughter came to kind of bathe. And her handmaidens were there and picking up water, and all of a sudden she said, there's something over there in the river, go see what that is. Handmaidens went over to see what it is, and they brought it back, and she said, oh my gosh, it's a baby. Isn't he cute? And she knew this must be one of those Israelite baby boys. I don't like what my father has done. I'm going to keep him. He's going to be mine, and I'm going to raise him just like he was my son. So what did they do? She took it out, and Miriam saw what she did. So she ran over to the princess and said, you know what? I know an Israelite lady who could help you if you wanted to until he was older. And she said, do that. Go get her. So Miriam went back and got her mother. So she got to keep Moses. The mother got to keep Moses till he was a little older. And the daughter of the Pharaoh said, I'm going to name him Moses, because Moses means taken out of the water. So, drawn from the water. So his name means taken out of the water. We're going to talk next week about what your names mean. Taken out of the water. So when he was taken out of the water, he went home, and when he was a little boy, he was taken to the palace, and he was raised like a prince. He was raised like he was the Pharaoh's grandson. It was marvelous. And everything was okay, except, again, the Pharaoh hated the Israelites. So he had his guards not only make them work tremendously hard, he beat them. They beat them with whips. And one day Moses was out and he saw an Egyptian beat a Hebrew Israeli guy with a whip that's so bad, and Moses got mad and said, "Don't do that to that person. There's no reason to do that to the person." The Egyptian looked at him and he still beat him and said, "He's an Israelite." So Moses got mad. He went over and he hit him so hard that he fell, and the Egyptian soldier died. Now, Moses knew he was in trouble. You don't do that to one of the Pharaoh's things. So he buried him amongst the sand. And somebody said, "I saw Moses kill an Egyptian just because he hit an Israelite." So Moses had to run away quickly into the night. He got all the stuff and he ran away. And this happened when Moses, believe it or not, was 40 years old already. Moses ran way far away to a place named Midian. And he became a shepherd. There he was. And he hears the words, "Take off your sandals, you are on holy ground." Oh my gosh, I was talking to him. Takes off his sandal and he hides his head real big. And he says, from the bush, he hears the words, "I am the God of your fathers. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And I have heard my people in Egypt cry to me. They are miserable. I have chosen you, Moses, to go back and save them. You're going to go back and you're going to tell them, the Pharaoh, to let my people go." Well, Moses is scared. Here this burning bush is talking to him. God's talking to him through this burning bush. And he said, now remember, this is where he lived and he did horrible things and things like that. And he said, "Who's going to listen to me? I can't go back." And he said, "Yes, you can." And he says, "I don't have the way to do it." And he said, "Take the staff that's in your hand." Because they had staffs in their hands to take care of the shepherds. He said, "Throw it on the ground." He threw it on the ground, and you know what? It became a snake. Oh my gosh. And then he said, "Pick up the snake," the bush said. Picked up the snake, and it came back into the staff. God said, "You, Moses, will go to the Pharaoh and say, 'Let my people go.'" Moses said, I don't talk very well. I don't do that. He said, "Your brother Aaron can help you. That's what you will do." And so Moses, now at the age of 80, has to go back to Egypt. And he has to confront the Pharaoh. And he has to tell all the Israelites, "God has sent me because he's heard your cries. And we are going to leave Egypt." So next week, we're going to talk about Moses going back. And Moses talking about the 10 things. Or Moses is going to say, God's going to say, show just how powerful he is. Okay? Okay. What do you think, I wonder, what do you think the scariest thing was for Moses in his entire life? When he killed a soldier. Maybe he was scared then. What's another scary thing that Moses had to go through?
When you go to livestock,
Yes, that was scary. What about, yeah,
when the bush talks.
when the bush talked to him? I'd be scared if a burning bush talked to me. You know, and the burning bush did come up, and if I knew God was talking to me through that, but he knew his part. Yes, Scott.
When he dropped the staff, it turned into a snake.
Yeah, that's right. When he dropped the staff, it turned into a snake.
That
God.
scared me to death.
Yes, yeah, well, that would. Yes, Spencer? Scared to go back to that. I'd be scared to go back to that too. You think he said a lot of prayers to God along the way back there?
Have you ever had to
Yeah, I
go
think
back
so, too.
someplace where you've made a mistake and fess up or face people? That would be scary, Spencer.
That would be very scary. So Moses had to go back and tell his then wife and tell his father-in-law and tell all of his family where he was going. Now, those 40 years that Moses lived in Midian are going to end up being really important later on. This is kind of something for you to see. Because you know why? When the people get to leave Egypt and come back to a land that God promised, they're going to have to kind of go through Midian. So Moses knows everything that he's talking about. God had a plan for Moses from the very beginning, from when he was born. And you know what? God has a plan for each of you. He knows right now what each of you, with your plan, what good works he has. What do you think something God has in mind for you is? What do you think he'd want you to do, Spencer? That's right, he does. Okay. Does you think he wants you to be a good example too to other people? Yeah? Thinks you should be a good example to other people? He wants you to be friendly to everybody. You want to treat everyone. You might even want to spread his word and tell people that's okay if we're scared because God's always with us. He is always there.
What do you think it was about Moses that God chose him? Do you think he was the best soccer player? Do you think that he was the best at tag? What do you think it was about Moses?
They might be.
What do you think it was about Moses that God chose him? What characteristics, Jasmine?
He probably would tell Steve to go walk his sisters up to the.
So he was what? Brave? Did he have courage? When he saw somebody get beat within an inch of his life, did he sit back and say, oh well?
Ow! No, he took action and beat.
He took action, didn't he? He had courage. He took action when he saw something wrong. Right. I think.
Yeah. I think, and really important, he listened to God. And he did what God wanted him to do. You think Moses prayed every day? I think he did. I think Moses prayed every day. I think Moses, when he was out and watching the sheep and the shepherds, thanked God for bringing him to Midian, where he found his wife and he found a friendly community. I think he thanked God for saving him from the bulrushes. I think he told God when things were going well and when things weren't going well.
Should we say goodbye and thanks, shall we?
Goodbye.
Bye and thank you, shall we, for breakfast?
Okay, we are going to start with a little silent prayer. So we're going to be quiet, but each of you are going to pray whatever's in your own mind. What's in Scotty's mind is not what's in my mind. What's in Angel's mind is not what's in my mind right today. The things that I'm concerned about. So everyone, for about just a little while, is going to do that, and then we're going to join hands and say the prayer that he taught us, the Lord's Prayer. So, fold your hands. And remember how did Daniel pray? How did Daniel pray? Do we remember? We said we had different ways to pray. On his knees. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. We're going to pray on our knees. We said different people. Let's get on our knees. Okay? We can do this for God. I think we can get on our knees for God. If I'm real old and I get on my knees.
Come on, Angel. Come on.
Okay. I'm going to start us by saying, Dear God, and then you're going to talk yourself to God until I say amen. Okay? Okay. Dear God.
Dear God.
Dear God.
Do it yourself. Amen.
Amen.
Join hands. Why do we join hands? What's Carol taught us? We join hands because Remember? We're all together, we're all apart. We're
All connected.
all connected, okay. Our Father,
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom,